Did you know that nearly 2 in 3 parents are now buying baby gear secondhand? Honestly, that's probably not a surprise considering how expensive everything's gotten. And not to mention that secondhand is such a good sustainable option. That's why we're thrilled to welcome Ben Norment today. He's a founder of the Stork Exchange and a dad of 3. And if you don't know, Stork Exchange is a marketplace that sells inspected open box baby gear to parents at steep discounts. And that makes Ben the perfect person to chat with when it comes to secondhand baby stuff. What should you look for? What are red flags? What are the best things to get secondhand? Plus, we're going to get into Ben's experience with parenting and sorting through all of that baby gear. This is Getting Started with Baby, the podcast that brings you practical tips, loved products, and lived experience from parents who've been there. Brought to you by thestarterset.com, a service focused on helping parents find just the right things at the right time to welcome their baby, personalized for them. I'm your host, Jane Deshevsky, a mom on the other side of 2 under 2. I'm still actively figuring all this out, and I'm bringing you perspectives from across the parenting spectrum. By the way, if you like what you hear, leave us a review or follow the podcast to help us keep growing. Let's get into it. Welcome, Ben, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, to get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Yeah, so I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina with my wife, Sindel, and our 3 kids. We have a daughter who's 5. Our son is turning 4 on this week of the recording. And then our youngest is just 7 months old. So we are in the thick of the parenting experience still.
For those listeners who don't know, what exactly is the Stork Exchange? And what can parents find on it?
Yeah, so we partner with leading brands and retailers to process their returns, inspect those returns, grade them on cosmetic condition, and then resell them to parents at steep discounts, often up to 40% off retail. What I think a lot of people don't really know is that as we've all gotten really used to buying things online, we've also gotten used to sending them back, right? You know, you buy stuff from Amazon, and part of the reason you buy from Amazon is, well, I can just send it back to Amazon and they're going to take anything back. If I don't like it, Amazon gets those packages back, brands get those packages back, and they just, for the most part, sell those off to liquidators where they kind of disappear into the gray market, or they send them straight to the landfill. And that's particularly true in baby, where retailers and brands are very concerned about safety. They see the open box and they're just kind of like, I'm going to write this off and throw it away. And so where we come in is we go in and we actually inspect those products. We take everything out of the box. We fully go through the inspection process. We make sure it's still safe to use. We make sure all the parts are available. And then we take these perfectly good products and we sell them back to parents. And they get a great deal on it because it's not technically new, but they're getting a basically new product in the landfill.
You hear about the secondhand market in the baby space, and it's kind of an interesting thing relative to other secondhand markets, because with baby stuff, truly you can get things that are basically barely used, if at all, which is kind of a unique situation just because of the time period. Mm-hmm. And you are a dad of 3, as you just mentioned. You have your hands very full. Was there something, in your own experience that made you think like, hey, this thing needs to exist, Stork Exchange needs to exist for parents? And can you tell me a little bit about that and what motivated you to start it?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we had kind of decided we were going to start trying to have kids. And her brother had just had their first. And that was, my first niece or nephew. And we went down to visit them. And it was just like their whole house was full of baby products. Like, it just blew my mind that there was all this stuff for this like little, tiny baby. One of the things they were telling us all about was the snoo. And they swore by it. They were like, this has worked so well. Our kid's so good at sleeping because of it. And then they're like, it's $1,500 and you're going to use it for the first like 6 months. Right. And that was almost 7 years ago. Right. It's even more expensive now. And so that was just mind blowing to me. And I was just like, oh my God, I cannot justify paying $1,500 for something I'm going to use for like 6 months. It doesn't matter how many extra hours of sleep it gives me. And so I started being interested in secondhand, started looking into it, and it became clear that while there are all these new options for buying used products in other industries, baby was still pretty much relying on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And, those have their uses and it can be great, but they're still pretty high friction and they can be very frustrating to use. And it was like, wow, there has to be an easier way to do this. And so that's where we really started Storage Exchange.
Yeah, I think there's something interesting that you say there because for parents, obviously, especially first-time parents, safety is paramount, right? You will accumulate whatever amount of stuff because you feel like it's safe and it's your first kid, especially. Not that that's not true of your second or your third, but, you're more nervous, obviously, the first time for most parents. And when you do Facebook and Craigslist, it is super hard to know, what do I look for? And is this safe? And so for parents thinking about buying secondhand or open box, how should they be thinking about quality and trust?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the first options is always to look at a resale marketplace that specializes in baby products. Sites like ours have documented processes for inspecting products, and we stand behind those products, and we're going to do the hard work to make sure those products are safe for you. That doesn't mean that you should avoid Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace entirely. There may be stuff that we don't have. And it's also great to support your local community and use a true secondhand product. When you're shopping on those sites, I think first, do your own research. You typically don't want to buy products that are more than 7-10 years old. That's when you start seeing some newer safety features might be excluded. You're probably dealing with a lot more wear and tear. You always want to really focus on safety elements first. Brakes on strollers, harnesses, anything like that. That's really integral to the safety feature. I think sometimes people get hung up on, is it a little dirty or like, is it missing the accessory I really care about? But you're going to be fine if you're missing a cup holder and you can clean the fabric of a stroller. And honestly, your kid's going to make a mess of it anyways. But a brake is not something you want to be like, oh, shoot, I thought I locked my stroller in place and now it's rolling down the street. Sleep products, car seats, you should never buy a used car seat. Absolutely, ever. And then maybe some of the feeding products as well.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people why a car seat is definitely a no-no secondhand?
Yes. So the thing with car seats is they are phenomenal at keeping your child safe in the event of an accident. However, if a car seat has been in an accident, the recommendation is, if you didn't know this, actually, this is good to know anyways. If you are in an accident, you should replace your car seats. While it may seem like a minor accident, all that force that happens in the accident is translated into the car seat and it absorbs the impact instead of your child. And that can ultimately compromise some of the internal structure of the car seat. And a lot of times that's not something that you see, if the plastic has been weakened or twisted or damaged inside the seat. If you're buying it from someone secondhand, you don't know. And it may be that they were in a minor accident that they didn't consider major, so they just didn't tell you. It might not be a malicious thing that they're not disclosing this, but ultimately you just can't verify that product is truly, truly safe for you to be reusing.
You have a full house, 3 kids, a 7-month-old. Let's talk about your experience becoming a parent. You mentioned you went to your brother-in-law's house and you saw what they had going on as they were welcoming their first child. Outside of just the sheer volume of stuff, which is, epic, especially first time around. What surprised you most when you were preparing for a baby and trying to figure out what you would need for your own experience?
Yeah, I think just a lot of it was the gear aspect, right? I was just unprepared. And this actually translates probably to the broader parenting experience, right? I was unprepared for the amount of choice there was. I think if you talk to 5 people, they're going to tell you 5 different ways that you absolutely have to parent your kid. And if you don't, your kid is going to be totally messed up. And when you come to parenting, maybe at the highest level there are, but a lot of it is ultimately personal choice and what do you value and how do you think you should parent? And I think that makes it really challenging. How do you navigate? You talk to 3 people about a problem and you get 3 very different opinions on what is the right way to handle this problem.
The right stuff also.
Yeah. And it's exactly the same thing, right? It's oh no, you need this car seat, or no, you need this stroller. It's overwhelming at times and being like, what do I do when everyone's telling me something different is kind of wild. I think nothing inspired more passionate, strong opinions than parenting styles.
Well, and it also, I feel like, changes every couple of years. It swings from one idea to the next. And even once you're on your second or third kid, it's all changed again. So you have to think about it fresh.
Yeah, we just started solids with our youngest, and when we were doing this with our first, at the time, like there was a fair amount of, if you're going the baby wed leaning route, there was a fair amount of people who were saying, like, start your kid at 4 months. It's fine to start them at 4 months if they're interested in food and they can sit up straight. And now it's like, no, definitely don't start them until 6 months.
So how did you navigate that as you were going through this? Had you started Stork Exchange before your first kid? Were you already really steeped in the knowledge of baby gear, and how did that affect how you navigated all this?
I probably had stronger opinions on baby gear than most first-time parents. So we officially launched the website 3 months after, or 2 months after our daughter was born.
Like, how did you think about what you wanted to get new versus what you wanted to check out secondhand, for example?
Yeah. I mean, I think you learn things through that process of like knowing not to buy a car seat secondhand. I ended up with a really good sense of what kind of products are available on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and what is going to be harder to find on those websites. What kind of discount do you typically see if you're buying these on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist? So I'd like to think that I had a pretty keen eye for like, okay, this is what we should buy secondhand. We're going to be able to find this, or, oh, that's going to be really, really hard to find. So let's just go ahead and buy it new. I think this new, right? We ended up getting one, of course, but we got it secondhand, and that was one where I was like, there are plenty of these on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. We'll have no problem finding one. I think we got half off of it. It had been used one time. So there are opportunities like that.
Did this new change your life?
Oh no, my daughter hated it. Yeah, she absolutely hated it. We didn't even use it with our youngest.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How it goes, right? They have opinions.
That's it. And then the thing is, it worked super well for my niece and nephew. And I have plenty of other friends who are like, it worked great for our kids. But I also know plenty of people who are like, it didn't work at all for us. So I think it's, like most things, it's your kid will vary. There's no instruction manual for them. Every kid is different. And being like, oh, I have this plan and this is exactly how it's going to go. You can forget the fact that your kid is a living, breathing person who is going to probably have their own take on how that plan is going to go.
It's interesting that you talked about the snoo was one thing that you were like, well, this is like a premium product, but it's crazy expensive and it's a short amount of time. So let me see what I can get secondhand. I think one of my regrets from my own gear experiences is I had that kind of same calculus about some of those luxury strollers where I was like, absolutely not. They're going to use it for a small amount of time, not paying whatever it was at the time, $1,500 for a travel system that they're not going to use for more than X amount of time. And I just hadn't considered at that time that there could be good secondhand options for that would be in great condition and would give me ultimately, like, then we had a second kid pretty quickly, and I wish I had that expandable stroller and I wish I had opted for it. But by then, we were 4 strollers deep and it is what it is. So It is a really great way if there's something as a parent that you feel like it's too much of a splurge. Those are the kinds of things that actually hold their value pretty well, I would imagine.
Oh, I mean, those high-end premium products hold their value super well. And I think there's a couple layers of calculus there, right? One is, even if you do end up buying it new, right, you're probably going to be able to resell it at the end of your use of it. And you'll probably get decent money back for it. It depends a little on how hard it was used and some things like that, but you can usually get a decent chunk of money back for a high-end, an up a baby stroller or a bugaboo stroller. But there's also the component of how much use are you going to get out of it yourself. There's products like the snoo where you really do have a hard limit. I think you have to take your kid out of it at like 6 months. That's when they recommend it. Whereas a really good stroller, you're probably going to use it with one kid for 2 years, and then you might throw in a second kid or a third kid. And we're using the same stroller that we had bought for our first child. We've gotten 5+ years of use out of that stroller so far, and we'll probably get another 1.5 years out of it. And when you think about buying products, a lot of times it can be that case where buying a product that's really going to last through multiple kids, and it's a product you really will continue to use, is where it can be worth investing new or going through the trouble of finding a secondhand option, because instead of having to buy a stroller you're going to replace or that's going to break or whatever, you can buy a product that's really built to last and to grow with you. And that can really be worth the extra.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And I wish I'd had more of that perspective. I think by the second kid, I definitely did because, you go through stuff and you're like, this isn't the quality that I need. And now I have a second one. And I wish I still had this instead of having to get another. And, the thing is, I think people do know, obviously, from the secondhand or open box, that's a discount. And you mentioned as you were thinking about it, you got really good at kind of spotting what was a good deal and what wasn't. What is the discount people should expect if they're buying something either open box or secondhand?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at you're going to pay more for open box products than you are for second, right? Open box products, I think, somewhere between 20 to 30% off the kind of leading brands is a good deal. Sometimes you'll see products for like 40% off if there's a sale, or there may be open box products where you're seeing more cosmetic damage as it's kind of been shipped around a bunch and it's got it rubbed around in the packaging or something. But that's kind of the lowest I would expect to see an open box item for. I think if you're seeing more than that, I would maybe raise some flags in my mind. Secondhand, you're going to see a huge range, right? You'll have people who want to sell you, right? And that's always the funny thing about Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, right? Is people get to put their own value on things. And I think with baby products, sometimes there's a sentimentality tax, right?
Yeah.
This was my kid's stroller, so it's worth more than it actually is. But I think typically you'll see deeper discounts there. You'll see more like 50 to 60 to 70% off. The lower you go, the more, the more gross typically. It just means more goldfish have been eaten in that stroller and smushed into the seat. I think that's definitely the thing. You'll get better discount if you go the full secondhand route. But you're also probably going to be doing a little more work on the cleaning side of things.
As a non-parent, I think you have some sense of how gross kids are. But when you become a parent, it's just another level of grossness.
Did you eat any of the snacks I give you, or do you just shove them into the car seat, like around you?
Yes. So you talked a little bit about this, certainly with the car seat thing, as you think about secondhand and you go lower on the price, the things that you might be seeing. But are there other things that parents should be sort of careful or really like inspecting as they're thinking about buying? Either open box, I assume, has some more quality checking to it. But let's say you're doing secondhand. What should you be looking out for? What are some of the red flags?
So you should always be doing the research on a product you want to buy ahead of time. So you should be aware, is there a recall on this product? I think I'd never start at malicious intent, right? Like a lot of times parents, if they haven't used it in a couple of years, they might not be aware that a product did get recalled, or maybe they don't care and they just want to get rid of it. But I think a lot of times people miss those kind of things, right? It's not their job to track it. Maybe they didn't sign up for the emails or whatever. So, if you're buying something secondhand, you should definitely be doing your research. Are there recalls on this product? Is it safe to use? You should be saying, what are the parts that are supposed to come with this product? Do I have everything that is supposed to be here? These aren't really red flags, but more green flags. If someone is keeping the original packaging, if they have the manuals, those are all green flags that this person is probably someone who has taken pretty good care of this product, is aware of what all the parts are, and is probably selling you something that is in good shape. I don't, again, dirtiness in and of itself is not an immediate red flag, simply because, as you said, kids are gross. And if someone used a product, particularly a high-use product like a stroller, there's probably going to be a little griminess to it. Are they just giving you something that literally has Cheez-Its still wedged in the seat, or is it just some discoloration on the seat, right? And so I think looking for that and being like, how much is this person actually cared for this product is usually a good sign of, is this product in good shape and is it good to use and buy? One of the biggest things is you should be doing your research before you even show up and negotiate something.
So if you're a parent who's still nervous about buying secondhand, I definitely felt that way when I had my first. Just safety concerns or whatever the case would be. What would you say to help parents feel a bit more confident about making that choice, especially if they're also trying to balance the affordability of it all?
I think one thing you have to keep in mind is that baby products are ridiculously over-engineered, right? There are so many safety standards that they have to meet. And there are companies, particularly the name brand legacy companies, investing a lot of time and money in making sure these products are safe, and they're investing in premium materials to make sure they are safe. And because of that, these products are, for the most part, built to last. They're built to be used by multiple kids. They're built to be used for years. Their actual lifespan far outpaces the amount of use they're getting usually from one single family. That's one thing. And that's extra true the higher up the price scale you go, right? The more expensive premium products, you're definitely paying a premium for them, but the level of quality is real with them, and you're going to get more use out of them. Because beyond that, from a quality perspective, I think most problems are things that you can visibly check, and ultimately you can do the work, make sure that this product hasn't been recalled. You can check the brakes, you can check the safety harnesses, and you can make sure that all those things are still safe. And ultimately, your kid is not going to judge you because you used a secondhand product. They have no idea. And ultimately, they're going to remember, how did you parent them, not what stroller you put in them and you put them in. And so being able to buy them something that works for you and is the product that is going to allow you to take them to the park because you have a good stroller that you like walking with is what really matters.
That's a great way to think about it, for sure. Okay, so as a quick fire round here, what are the things that are the best to consider buying secondhand or open box?
Yeah, so I think you always want to go for the big ticket items. That's where you're really going to save the most money. Again, 30% of a $900 stroller is hundreds of dollars. 30% off a $50 is $10, $10, $15. So the bigger ticket items, you're going to save much more. Along those lines, investing in a really good stroller is absolutely worth it. If you're living somewhere where you're going to walk a lot, you are going to get so much use out of that stroller. And having one that you actually like, having one that is enjoyable to push around, that you can get in and out of your car, that your kid tolerates sitting in, that's going to be so good. It's going to benefit you to no end. I also think, I use this more of just a list of what are my favorite baby products, but a carrier, we get so much use out of our carriers. They're super easy to buy secondhand. There are tons of them on secondhand sites. They're not that expensive to start, but you can get a really good deal on them secondhand. And it's just amazing to go back to having two hands to be able to do stuff. And your kid still loves being close to you. And then particularly once they can kind of turn around and face out and see the world with you, that's great. And then I think the other one is rather than one of those fancy, crazy swings, we have just found that the Baby Bjorn bouncer, it's this analog bouncer, is amazing. It's definitely on the pricier end, but again, buying it secondhand, you can get a really good price on it, and you can move it anywhere. You're not stuck to an outlet. It's very portable. Our kids, all three of our children have loved sitting in one, and it goes back to that. It's great to have a place you can just safely put down baby anywhere and know that you can go do what you need to do, and they're going to be happy. So those may be the three that I'm like, oh yeah, it's worth the savings you're going to get buying them secondhand is worthwhile, and the functionality you're going to get from investing in a good product there is really important.
And then I know it's very obvious for most parents, use secondhand, great for the wallet. What are some of the other benefits that parents may not, it's not as obvious, but are also a good reason to think about secondhand?
Yeah, I think the sustainability aspect is super important. It's easy to lose sight of that when you're kind of stuck in parenting mode, right? You're just trying to survive. There's plenty of times where you're up with the baby late at night and you're just like, I need this thing to make my life better tomorrow, and I need it now. But ultimately, when you talk about sustainability, your children are the ones who are going to benefit from this, right? They're the ones who are going to benefit from less waste in the world. They're the ones who are going to benefit from less emissions from every new stroller you're building. And so ultimately, if you're building a more sustainable world, this is something you're building for your own children, right? And so I think that's really important. It's a gift you can truly give them by shopping secondhand and making a small contribution in that effort.
You went into this a little bit with your favorite products, and I'm going to give you even more opportunity to talk about it. So we're sponsored by a service called the Starter Set, which helps parents navigate the noise of all of the different baby gear that they can get, and to find things that are really right for their family based on those family values that they have. Well, you mentioned a few, but as a parent, is there a product or service that you really swear by?
Yeah. So I talked a little, that Baby Bjorn bouncer is always one of my favorites to recommend. We were fortunate enough that someone sponsored us to get some of the Lovery play kits. I love them. I think they're fantastic. Both of our older kids go through Montessori anyways. But we found they got tremendous use from all three kids. Now our third is starting to use them as well. It's really funny actually seeing our older kids now go back and playing with some of the toys that they played with as babies, which I think speaks to, they make toys that are used at many different stages. And I think those play kits really helped us from having to continually buy toys. We got a ton of use out of them, even as the kids got older, and we weren't just swamped in a bunch of plastic junk that broke or, oh God, I need a new battery for this. It's just dead weight until then. And so I really appreciated those. I thought those were great. Yeah, they're pricey, but they have a secondhand program. You can shop their pre-loved products on their own website. And so you can get play kits from other parents that they're selling. It's a great way to get some really great high quality Montessori toys at a good price. And then third, we had the Vista, and our kids hated it as a double stroller. Just like absolutely did not like it. Like my daughter, well, it's mainly because the older kid gets downgraded to sitting down low in the front, and my daughter was like, "No, I take second place to nobody." And so we found ultimately what worked really well is we got a double stroller that's a side by side. We got it from Zoe Strollers, who we work with at Stork Exchange, and it's an amazing stroller. It's super lightweight, fits in the back of the car super easily. You get a great snack tray with it. We take it to the farmer's market all the time. It's like throw some of the fresh strawberries on it, and the kids will entertain themselves while you do the shopping. I love their strollers. I think they're really good. So I would definitely shout them out too as a great stroller option.
Yeah. And good to know that it's a good side-by-side that will fit through doorways, etc.
It fits through everything. It's amazing. People are always like, "Oh, you're not going to fit through here." And I'm like, "Yes, I am. Like, I just jet right through this doorway."
I'll show you.
Yeah. Watch me do it.
Yeah. What about things that you think parents gravitate towards that maybe is unnecessary?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean towards almost any tech product. I kind of shared the Snoo didn't really work for us, but I think it's easy to get caught up in this idea that a tech solution is going to make parenting easy or doable for you. And I think it's wrong. I think parenting's hard, and it's going to challenge you. It's going to make you tired. It's going to be tough at times. And you can't outsource that to tech. It's just part of parenting. And at the same time, parenting is incredibly rewarding. And I think trying to optimize all of it into this smooth, easy process takes sometimes some of that joy and magic out of it. So I typically think that going with analog and more analog products is generally the best. It keeps your life simple, reduces this endless proliferation of cords and what's charged and what's connected to the Wi-Fi and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to be wrestling with this swing because it's not connected to the Wi-Fi and I can't turn it on from my phone, right? I can pick the baby born bouncer up. I can move it to whatever room I need. I don't need to figure out where a cord, an outlet is, and my kid will just happily bounce around in it and spin the little spinny toys, and great, and they're near me, and it's perfect. It's my very Luddite stance on baby products and technology.
Yeah, as a founder of a tech-based.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I hear you too. I actually also tend to be anti-gadget for most things. Although I do wish I had invested in a bottle washer. If I'm going to be honest.
That's fair. As someone who's currently washing a lot of bottles, it would be nice at times to do less of.
If you had to have one thing for parents to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's that parents should not be afraid of buying secondhand, whether that's through retail platform like Stork Exchange or just on their local Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or in their local Facebook groups or Buy Nothing groups, whatever it is. Secondhand is a great option with juvenile products beyond baby, I think, throughout kids' lives. And so they shouldn't be afraid of diving into.
That's such a good thought to end it with. And I'd also say that it's so great to know that a service like Stork Exchange exists because certainly as a first-time parent, I was nervous about the safety and the quality. And so knowing that there is a group that is really inspecting and making sure that these products are good and also giving you the chance to get it at a discount is just huge. Well, thank you so much for being here. I certainly learned a lot about secondhand product. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a review or follow the podcast to stay up to date on new episodes. Know someone else who could use the episode? Please pass it on. Interested to check out Stork Exchange for yourself? Visit their website at storkexchange.co or follow them on Instagram at stork_exchange. Links plus a discount code in the episode description. Have topics you'd like us to cover? Find us on Instagram at The Starter Set or reach out via info@thestarterset.com. Thank you for listening. Till next time.